Hey, I'm Bassmaster Elite Series Pro Ott DeFoe. We're here at the Macon Bass Pro Shops, and I want to talk to you about the Bass College. It's a great tool for young anglers coming up and wanting to learn more about bass fishing. You know, whenever I was growing up, the best way for me to learn was reading Bassmaster magazine or going fishing with some friends of mine. And I know not everybody has those opportunities, so a website like basscollege.com, it allows you to get a great resource that you can get out there. You can watch videos like this. Just a great place to really learn. And the more that you're learning, the more time that you spend on the water, the better of a fisherman you're going to be. You know, that learning curve whenever you're starting out can be pretty doggone steep. You know, you really, unless you're getting to fish 3 or 4 or 5 days a week, if you're getting to fish once a week, once every couple of weeks, you know, a lot of things change in that amount of time everywhere you go. So a site like this really helps you to learn a lot more. And it's going to help you straighten out that learning curve and get you more bass.
Guys, we're here with Ott DeFoe at the Bass Pro Shops in Macon, Georgia, and we're going to ask him a few questions. There's a lot of paths to becoming an Elite Series angler and actually turning pro. What path did you take?
For me, I grew up fishing, you know, local tournaments, BFLs, team tournaments, all that kind of stuff. And whenever I really wanted to kind of take a leap from that BFL, local, regional, you know, local level, I wanted to go to something bigger, and the EverStart was something I was qualified for, but I also tried to get into the Bass Opens then and was like number 200 on the wait list, so it was a long shot for me to get in. So I started with the EverStart and FLW Series and then the FLW Tour, and I fished the Tour for 4 years and had a lot of fun there and did pretty good. But man, growing up, I'd always watched bass, the Bassmasters and the Bassmaster Classic. We went to it about 9 times whenever I was a kid growing up, and that's what I always dreamed about. You know, with FLW, they're great events and structured really well, but it's not the Bassmasters Classic. And so in 2010, I decided I wanted to fish the Opens, and I got into them and made it to the Elite Series my first year out on the Opens and qualified for them. You know, just through the Bassmaster Southern Opens, they took 7 that year they took the top 7 in the points, and I tied for 6th. So I got my card punched and jumped in with both feet.
I don't know if you were around years ago when there was a pro versus pro draw, you know, in the tournaments. Were you?
No, I didn't fish them. I knew that was whenever I first tried to get in the invitationals. That's the way they were, but I never actually fished in any that were like that.
Do you would you be interested in doing something like that? You think you'd like to do that?
It would be tough. Whenever I fished the Federation stuff, it was, you know, some of our club level tournaments were that way, and you had to split the day, and it was a pain for one. You know, just having to share your boat or fish out of somebody else's, and everything's not the same as what it is on your own boat. I like it the way it is now, but it would be a neat deal. It would be interesting to see to spend the day in the boat with another pro. I mean, it would be pretty cool.
What's a new bait that you're looking forward most to using this year?
It would have to be the scatter wraps from Rapala. They've got actually 4 different bait models with the scattered lip in those, and that would have to be the one that I'm looking forward to. It's a crankbait or a minnow, you know, floating bait. And so you can't say it's a new bait, but the design and the concept behind it truly is.
What's maybe your least favorite technique, something you're really working on?
Carolina rig.
A lot of pros say that. You just better hope they're not biting it.
That's right.
What's the strangest thing you've ever caught fishing, or the coolest, something like that?
Man, I've caught a little bit of everything. One of the weirdest things, and I actually didn't catch it, but me and Brian Thrift were practicing together last year for the Toyota Texas Bass Classic, and he ended up winning. He did a lot better than I did. But we were out there practicing together, and on FLW they could throw Alabama rigs. On the Elite Series we can't, but in that tournament we could. We were fishing this one area, and he was throwing an Alabama rig, and he caught a grass carp, probably 40 pounds, on an Alabama rig that ate it. And I didn't catch it, but I held it. And we took a picture of it. But that was one of the weirdest things I'd have to say I've ever seen actually caught.
Do you have any superstitions in your own fishing? You try and stay away from that?
I don't. I'm a man of faith, and if you're much of a man of faith, in my opinion, there's not much superstition that can bother you. I like bananas too.
Let's see. What two mistakes do you see weekend tournament anglers making on a quick basis?
It would be one of the biggest ones is not paying enough attention. And if you're just out there having fun, you're not out there, you don't have any money on the line, that's one thing, but a big thing would just be not paying enough attention and then not retying enough. And I mean, pros don't retie enough. I can speak for myself on that aspect, but that not paying enough attention is a huge one.
If someone was going to transition to tournaments, like BFL, where the competition is a little, more advanced, and there's a lot more anglers, and you're going to experience fishing behind guys. Guys are going to be on your really good spots.
Yeah.
3 tips to those anglers, to keep everything in perspective and be successful.
Nobody's going to catch every fish in the lake or every fish off of one spot, number one. Then the second one would be mindful of what those other people are doing. I don't mean get out your binoculars and see if he's throwing a DT16 with number 2 or number 3 treble hooks on it, but I mean, pay attention if he's throwing a crankbait, if he's winding it really fast, or if he's fishing a jerk bait, or just pay attention to what those other anglers are doing. And then number 3 would be you got to have confidence in yourself. Know that what you're doing is good, and know that you can do it well, and just plan on grinding it out.
All right. In coming up as an angler, did you do any co-angler stuff? And if so, co-angler versus boater, pros and cons. What do you think?
Honestly, the very first BFL I ever fished, I fished as a boater. I never entered a tournament as a co-angler. Now, growing up fishing team tournaments, I would fish with another guy out of his boat most of the time. But as far as a pro co-angler type deal, I never fished as a co-angler. And I've had some of the best co-anglers in the back of my boat, and I've had a lot of great times. It's a great way to learn for somebody fishing like that. But they just need to know that the guy in the front of the boat's got a lot more on the line than the guy in the back does, and just be respectful of them, and everybody will get along and have a good time.
As a pro angler, do you feel that you yourself and other pros, even guys at the top level, do you think they actually learn stuff and elaborate every season? They're a little better at something, or?
Oh yeah. If you're not learning at my level constantly, then you're backing up. You have to be trying to learn something new all the time. And if you're not, then you're going to. It may not be this next tournament. It may not be this season, but you're going to wind up getting beat because of it.
What do pros often do at the end of a season? They're getting geared up with new rods and reels. What do you do with the old ones from the previous season?
It just depends on. I've got a lot of my old stuff from the seasons before, and sometimes I can find a good a good thing to do with it. This year, one of our local area high schools, they started up a bass club, and I was able to help them out with some equipment, and that's a great thing that I really like doing, is helping anybody out that I can, and that's what I end up trying to do with most of mine.
All right, we'll give you one last question to finish things off here. What kind of things do you do in the off season, not only from a fishing side, but just to keep in shape and get ready for next season, maybe to visualize stuff? What kind of things do you do?
I really don't do a lot of exercise or anything, probably like I should, but a lot of guys do have some kind of exercise schedule. For me, I like to try to fish a lot. This particular off season, I didn't get a lot of chance to do that, but for me, I like to fish a lot. And this last year, I crappie fished. I did more crappie fishing really than I did bass fishing. It was a lot of fun. I love taking my little girl out and catching a mess of those. So for me, it's just about finding something else to catch. I like to fish a lot. I bass fish a lot in the fall, but that's the main thing I do. Just more time on the water.
All right, thank you, Ott. We want to thank you for talking to us here, and all this stuff's going to go up on the Bass College. So just check this out, and I want to thank you once again, Ott, for sharing everything you have to say. Thank you, bud.
Thank you.